So I started with the Enlightenment philosophers. The very first day, we found the 13 colonies on a U.S. and world map. As an example of slowing down, that was my warm-up activity. It took an hour and a half, so we started my next thing the next day. You have to be very prepared to stop at any point and go a little slower. We started a timeline of the founding documents in history. And then we read articles that summarized the philosophy of natural rights and the influence on the founders. And we did a number of activities, which you'll have the opportunity to see. And then for the writing assignment at the end, before we did anything else but look at Locke and Montesquieu and a couple of writings on that, they had an assignment to pretend they're a colonist and write a letter to the king demanding self-government. And they had to have as their reasons for why they could govern themselves instead of the king, what they saw Locke saying in the writings I gave them. And I have some example student responses that I was kind of proud of on the board. Then we got into the Declaration of Independence and the enduring issue, all men are created equal. And when we did the Declaration of Independence, we just did the big ideas. And I asked them to look at it. I told them they weren't going to understand every word, that they would never, get to every little word in the Declaration. But did they recognize any of the things they had read about the Enlightenment thinkers when they read the beginning of the Declaration? And of course they see that equal rights language. We then looked at how this enduring issue came up in a letter that Benjamin Banneker wrote to Thomas Jefferson, and we practiced all kinds of reading skills with that letter. Then we read Thomas Jefferson's reply, and then the wrap-up writing assignment there was, what do you think Benjamin Banneker thought about Jefferson's response? And again, it's not just what they think, they have to have evidence from the text. With Unit 3, we got into the Bill of Rights and the Civil Rights Amendment. And we saw their familiarity with specific rights that grew out of those founding ideals. And then, I highlighted on the thing, we took a field trip, which if you have a chance, this is always fun. We went to the archives, and there is an exhibit there called Records of Rights. It's a fabulous exhibit. There's this interactive table that people had fun with. There are videos. It's very interactive. And I just remembered. There are 3 sections. One's on voting rights, which I knew we were going to get to. One is on the Japanese internment, the fascinating exhibit, and one was on, I think the other one was on immigration. It could have been women's rights. Then we got into the letter from the Birmingham jail. You're going to see lots of activities about the letter from the Birmingham jail on the internet. Something about the source text when you're looking through here. The GED has given examples of text that students at various levels should be able to read. At their lower level is a series of books on U.S. history written by Joy. It's H-A-K-I-M. Never know how to take them, I usually say. So I used that book for excerpts. It was harder than I thought it was going to be, but that's one exemplar. That's for students who aren't quite ready to take the GED yet. For students that should be able to pass the GED on the beginning passing level, they give us an example of the letter from the Birmingham jail. It's probably why it's also a great document and really fun to read and study. But that's why I chose doing the letter. So we saw how the enduring issue we learned about played out in the civil rights era. And again, did a lot of reading activities around that. And I've given you sources for more activities. There's a lot of evidence-based writing and a lot of text-dependent questioning. Asking questions about the text where they have to look at the text and give evidence for their answers. And we ended this with a debate. The students took sides. We don't have a phone.
I know, it's so sad.
There's evidence of the debate on a phone that Daquana has stolen.
It was so good. The debate was so good until the week after it was stolen. She asked for it.
But what I thought was great about this, I chose the students who were at a higher reading level, who seemed, a bit more engaged, a bit able to do the side that opposed Dr. King. And I gave them this extra reading, which you'll see on here is the Joseph Jackson address to the National Baptist Convention, and to get additional reasons to be against what Dr. King was doing. And I was really amazed. You'll see how we frame the activity when I put up the activities, but they were really citing evidence that they had read. They weren't just doing their own point of view, and they really learned that, and they didn't criticize each other for saying something against Dr. King, and all the pitfalls you think might arise. They did a really good job.
What level of readers was in that? What range?
It was my academic class, so they start at a CASAS. That class started about 235, so there are higher level readers. But you can really, this workshop, we've done a workshop about adapting some of the materials. You can rewrite them a little bit to make them a little different. You can find different levels of materials, but you can still do this, as long as they're basing their evidence on the text. We then got into voting rights, and specifically women's suffrage, and again, always saying this is about equal rights. Here it's playing out in the voting rights arena. In that one, got a little bit more, I did a gallery walk, which is what you're going to experience today, where they looked at cartoons. You have to get in your graphic of the day, your cartoons and things as well. And then finally, we brought the enduring issue into the present with the issue of restoring voting rights to felons. And I came upon the remarks of Attorney General Holder at a forum at Georgetown University, and at the very end he has this fabulous appeal. You'll be able to see the letter. And what is he talking about? Thomas Jefferson and equal rights. And the idea is that by the end, the students they're not going to understand just from reading it. I don't understand it the first time I'm reading it through what Attorney General Holder was exactly saying. That's why we all read critically and go slow and read the sentence again. But when you get down to the bottom, you don't have to read every word to know that he's trying to remind you of Dr. King and Thomas Jefferson and equal rights. So that hopefully eventually, if they got a question on the test that had the quote from the Declaration and a piece of Attorney General Holder's letter, they would say, oh, that enduring issue is equal rights, and I can talk about that without even totally being able to understand Attorney General Holder's letter. So that's the idea.